Imagine a shadow flitting between the trees at the speed of a forest fire. A predator whose name once meant goose thief, hinting at daring raids right into the yards of our ancestors. This celestial hunter is capable of attacking prey larger than itself, defying the laws of nature, and it fiercely defends its territory, including its nest, even from people who carelessly come too close, turning into a true whirlwind of feathers and claws. Today, I invite you to get acquainted with one of the most skillful and elusive feathered predators of the northern forests, a creature whose presence fills the forest thicket with both admiration and primal fear, the northern goshawk. The scientific name of this magnificent creature is Accipiter gentilis. I will tell you about this avenger from the skies, unveiling the secrets of its life, which in itself is an amazing saga of survival, hunting, and dominance in its ecological niche. The word hawk is often used as a general name for many diurnal birds of prey. However, true hawks belong to the genus Accipiter. These are special predators, distinct from falcons with their sickle-shaped wings and hunting in open spaces, and from massive eagles soaring high in the skies. Hawks are forest sprinters, masters of ambush and agile flight among dense branches. And the goshawk, our hero of the day, is one of the largest and most formidable representatives of this genus. It embodies the very essence of hawk hunting: speed, suddenness, and incredible power. I feel a true thrill when I think of this feathered ruler of the forest, whose story is full of drama, spirit, and impressive adaptation. Prepare to dive into a world where every wing beat decides the question of life and death, where the predator's gaze pierces the forest gloom, searching for the next prey. We will explore its world, understand its role in nature, and perhaps understand ourselves a little better through the lens of this amazing creature's life. Portrait of a predator, feathers, and gaze. Now let's take a look at the very embodiment of stealthy power and deadly grace. The visual portrait of the goshawk captivates the imagination with its perfection, crafted by nature for hunting in the forest thickets. An adult bird is a true work of art, rendered in strict yet elegant tones. The upper part of the body, including the wings and back, is colored in rich bluish-gray or gray-brown shades, allowing the predator to perfectly blend with the play of light and shadow under the tree canopies. The lower part of the body contrasts with its whiteness, speckled with the finest dark ripple, like the ripples on the water of a forest lake. This coloration creates a blurring effect of the contours, making the hawk less noticeable to potential prey as it swiftly darts through the underbrush. Perhaps the most distinctive and memorable feature of its appearance is the bright white broad eyebrow stripe that runs above its piercing eyes. This feature gives the goshawk's gaze a special expressiveness, as if emphasizing its constant vigilance and predatory nature. The color of the eyes changes with the bird's age. In young hawks, they are light yellow, but over time they darken, acquiring a deep orange or even ruby-red hue in adults. This fiery gaze can instill awe. The size of the goshawk is impressive, especially for a bird adapted to life in the forest. Females are noticeably larger and more massive than males, which is a common phenomenon among many birds of prey and is called sexual dimorphism. The body length of an adult can range from 19 to 27 inches, and the wingspan of its powerful, relatively short and broad wings reaches from 35 to 48 inches. The weight of a female can range from 1 pound 8 ounces to nearly 5 pounds, whereas males are lighter. Their weight ranges from 1 pound 1 ounce to 2 pounds 10 ounces. Imagine a predator about the size of a large crow or even slightly bigger, but incomparably more powerful and deadly. Young goshawks differ from adults. Their plumage is brown on top, while the underside is creamy or yellowish red, with large dark longitudinal spots providing camouflage during the first months of independent life. A powerful build, broad wings for sharp maneuvers, and a long tail serving as a rudder during pursuit. All aspects of the goshawk's appearance indicate its purpose as the perfect forest hunter. The global brotherhood, the hawk family. Let's take a look at the multifaceted family of true hawks, as our formidable goshawk is not alone in its kind. It belongs to the extensive and diverse genus Accipiter, which unites true hawks, scattered across our entire world. These birds, masters of forest hunting, represent a unique branch of predator evolution. Allow me to introduce you to some of the closest relatives of our hero, so you can better appreciate its special status. Here, for example, is the Eurasian sparrowhawk Accipiter nisus. It is significantly smaller than the goshawk, more the size of a pigeon. Its body length usually ranges from 9 to 16 inches, and its wingspan varies from 19 to 27 inches. Male sparrowhawks are charming with their bluish-gray upper parts and fine reddish crossbarring on the chest, while females are larger and more modestly colored, in brownish tones with gray mottling underneath. Its weight is quite small, from 4 to 11 ounces, roughly like 2 to 3 tennis balls. The sparrowhawk is a specialist in hunting small birds, which it pursues with incredible agility through the shrubs and hedgerows of Europe and Asia. Across the ocean, in North America, its counterpart and close relative, the Cooper's hawk, Accipiter cooperi, resides. It occupies an intermediate position in terms of size. Its length ranges from 14 to 20 inches, and its wingspan from 24 to 35 inches. It weighs between 8 and 21 ounces. Adult birds resemble the goshawk with their bluish-gray back and reddish barring underneath, but they have a more rounded head and often a noticeable dark cap. The Cooper's hawk also primarily hunts birds, but it does not disdain small mammals, and it is better adapted than the goshawk to living near humans, often being found in suburbs and parks. There are many other species of Accipiter, such as the tiny North American sharp-shinned hawks, Accipiter striatus, weighing only as much as a few playing cards, or the exotic hawks of the tropical forests of Africa, Asia, and Australia, each with its own unique adaptations. But against this backdrop, our hero, the goshawk, stands out with its size, strength, and ability to take down large prey, confirming its reputation as one of the top predators of the northern forests. The range of Accipiter hawks is truly global. They inhabit forests and wooded areas on almost all continents, except Antarctica, demonstrating the remarkable ecological adaptability of this ancient genus of birds of prey. Forest habitats. A home in the thicket. Secret. Habitats and favorite landscapes of hawks tell us much about their way of life. The goshawk is a child of vast mature forests. Its true home is located where the canopies of ancient trees meet, where twilight and silence reign, broken only by the singing of birds and the rustling of leaves. It clearly prefers large forest tracts of the northern hemisphere, whether they are dense coniferous forests dominated by spruce, fir, or pine, majestic mixed forests where conifers coexist with oak, beech, and birch, or shady deciduous forests. The area of such habitats must be substantial, since the goshawk requires a vast hunting territory which can cover several square miles to sustain itself and its offspring. The presence of tall, sturdy trees is critically important for nesting. Its massive nest, which can reach several feet in diameter and be used year after year, the goshawk builds high above the ground, choosing secluded spots away from disturbances. Dense undergrowth and a closed canopy provide it with ideal conditions for its favorite hunting tactic, a sudden ambush attack. It uses tree trunks, shrubs, and uneven terrain as cover, swiftly lunging at an unsuspecting prey. Although the goshawk prefers the forest core, it can also be found on the edges, and in forests intersected by clearings or river valleys where open spaces alternate with dense thickets. However, severe forest fragmentation, deforestation, and the overall reduction of old-growth forest areas pose a serious threat to the well-being of this magnificent predator. But while the goshawk remains loyal to its wild forest domains, some of its relatives demonstrate greater flexibility. The sparrowhawk, or Cooper's hawk, for instance, have adapted much better to human-altered landscapes. They feel quite comfortable in small forested areas, parks, gardens, and even in green zones of cities, provided there are enough trees for nesting and an abundance of small birds, often attracted by feeders. This adaptability sometimes allows them to be seen more frequently by people than their larger and more secretive counterpart, the goshawk, which remains a true phantom of dense forests. The shadow tactic. The art of ambush. It's time to delve into the very heart of the goshawk's hunting soul to understand its brilliant tactic of surprise. For him, hunting is not soaring high or a long chase in open spaces like falcons. No, the goshawk is a master of the lightning strike from cover, or a true forest ninja. His strategy is based on patient waiting and a stunning pounce that leaves the prey with no chance. Imagine, the predator is perched on a branch hidden by dense foliage or pine needles, its gray feathers blending with the tree bark. Its sharp gaze scans the underbrush. He can sit motionless for hours, observing the life of the forest, choosing the right moment. And then, when an unwary squirrel descends the trunk or a flock of thrushes feeds on the ground, an explosion occurs. The hawk bursts from the branch and at Uudafara's incredible speed races low over the ground, literally threading the space between the trees. His relatively short, wide wings and long tail, acting like a rudder, allow him to perform dizzying maneuvers, weaving around trunks, dive under branches with such precision and speed that it seems impossible. The flight is often so low, just a few feet above the surface, that the hawk uses the terrain itself, ditches, fallen trees, shrubs, as additional cover, appearing before the prey as if from nowhere. This final dash rarely exceeds a few hundred feet, but it is so swift and unexpected that the prey often doesn't even have time to understand what happened. The goshawk relies not so much on ultimate speed in its pure form, but on acceleration and remarkable maneuverability in dense environments. This fundamentally distinguishes it from other predators. The sparrowhawk, its smaller relative, uses a similar tactic to pursue small birds in shrubs, but the goshawk, thanks to its size and strength, is capable of applying it to much larger and faster prey. Why besides saying its method is the embodiment of the sea grab principle, brought to absolute perfection in the forest thicket. The Avenger's Menu. A feast in the forest. And now let's see who becomes the victim of this unparalleled forest hunter. What is the menu of the celestial avenger? The diet of the goshawk. Striking in its breadth and diversity, demonstrating its ecological flexibility and dominant position in the food chain. It is not a narrow specialist preferring just one type of prey. On the contrary, its menu reflects the available resources in a specific area and during a particular season. The foundation of its diet consists of medium-sized birds and mammals. Among its feathered victims are often pigeons, jays, thrushes, woodpeckers, corvids like crows and rooks, as well as larger species such as pheasants, black grouse, and even domestic chickens if the opportunity arises. It is capable of catching and taking down birds both on the ground and in flight, using its incredible reflexes and powerful talons. In the mammal world, its prey includes hares and jackrabbits, wild rabbits, and sometimes smaller rodents like voles or rats. Particularly impressive is its ability to overcome prey that sometimes matches it in weight and sometimes even exceeds it. For example, an adult hare weighing up to 10 to 12 pounds. I have witnessed accounts of how the goshawk successfully hunted young foxes or even small roe deer, although these are, of course, exceptional cases that highlight its strength and courage. The diet of the goshawk can vary significantly, depending on the region. In some areas, its diet is primarily composed of birds, while in others it consists of mammals. There are also seasonal fluctuations. In summer, when there are many young and inexperienced animals in the forest, it hunts them more often, and in winter, when mammals become less accessible, its attention shifts to wintering birds. This ability to adapt its diet allows the goshawk to survive and thrive in the diverse conditions of its vast range. From forest tundra to forest steppe, playing a key role in regulating the populations of many animal species and supporting the health of forest ecosystems. Flight through the thicket. Speed versus maneuverability. Lightning-fast flight or an artful dance between the trees. What is more important for a forest hunter? By analyzing the flight characteristics of the goshawk, we delve into the fascinating world of trade-offs between sheer speed and incredible maneuverability. There is often a temptation to measure a predator's perfection only in miles per hour. But for our hero, the numbers on the speedometer are not the main thing. Yes, the goshawk is capable of impressive bursts. In horizontal flight, especially when flying over open areas or along edges, its speed can reach 50 miles per hour, and in short, explosive dashes towards prey or during aggressive nest defense, it can momentarily spike even higher, possibly, approaching 100 miles per hour when diving through branches. This is faster than a racehorse at full gallop. However, the true genius of the goshawk is not in straight-line racing. Its element is the dense, tangled forest, where the decisive factor is not maximum speed, but the ability to make instant, sharp turns, to navigate around obstacles, and to pursue dodging prey in a three-dimensional labyrinth of trunks and branches. Its relatively short and broad wings, unlike the long and narrow wings of a falcon, BTO, are designed specifically for such acrobatic maneuvers. They provide a powerful flap for rapid acceleration and allow for sharp braking or changing direction. The long tail acts as an effective rudder and balancer, helping the bird to literally dance in the air, weaving through the forest canopy with a grace that seems almost supernatural to observe. A goshawk chasing a squirrel around the trunk of a tree or diving through dense shrubbery after a startled thrush is to witness the very embodiment of adaptation to forest life. It is this exceptional maneuverability, not just speed, that makes it such a successful hunter in its environment, allowing it to catch even the most agile forest dwellers by surprise. It skillfully uses every curve of the landscape, every veil of foliage, turning the entire forest into its hunting arena. A deadly arsenal, claws and beak. Now let's look at the tools nature has endowed this perfect killer with. Its personal arsenal. The claws and beak of the goshawk are not just body parts, they are deadly weapons honed by millions of years of evolution for capturing, holding, and killing prey. Its talons are the embodiment of power. 4. Toes on each foot are armed with long, curved, and incredibly sharp claws. Their sharpness is comparable to the sharpness of a surgical scalpel. They easily penetrate through feathers, fur, and even thick skin, The rear claw is particularly long and powerful. It plays a key role in capturing and inflicting fatal wounds. When the goshawk attacks, it thrusts its talons forward with immense force and speed. The claws embed into the body of the prey, and the powerful fingers squeeze with astonishing force. The muscles and tendons in its legs work like a vice, capable of not only holding onto a desperately struggling prey, often outweighing the hawk, but also literally crushing it, or causing a quick death by damaging vital organs or suffocation. The mechanism of the grip is such that the more the prey tries to escape, the deeper the claws embed, and the stronger the grip becomes. There is a mechanism that allows the tendons to lock the fingers in a clenched position, conserving the bird's energy when holding large prey. The goshawk's beak, although not as massive as an eagle's, is perfectly adapted for its tasks. It is relatively short but very strong, with a sharp hook at the end of the upper part, the culmen. With this hook, the hawk delivers precise blows to finally kill the prey, often snapping the cervical vertebrae, or uses it to tear the skin and butcher the carcass into pieces. Powerful jaw muscles allow it to tear off chunks of meat and even crush small bones. The claws are used for grabbing and killing, while the beak is for the finishing blow and subsequent meal. It is a deadly duo that ensures the goshawk's dominance in its forest domain. Forest fortress, nesting fury. Let's now delve into the intimate secrets of the family life of this forest, hermit, where the hunter's fury gives way to remarkable devotion. Behind the fierce appearance of the goshawk lies a complex system of relationships and astonishing care for its offspring. In spring, when the forest awakens to life, thrilling aerial ballets unfold in the skies. The male and female perform impressive ritual flights, tumbling, diving, and chasing each other among the treetops, thereby strengthening the bond of a pair that often lasts a lifetime. Having found a suitable spot, usually high on a sturdy fork of an old tree in the most secluded and tranquil part of the forest, the pair begins constructing or renovating the nest. This monumental structure, made of branches and twigs lined inside with pine needles, bark, and green twigs, can reach 4 to 5 feet in diameter and several feet in height, becoming more impressive in size over the years, almost like a small table. In this secure refuge, the female lays 2 to 5 bluish-white eggs, usually 2 or 3. Then begins the long incubation period, lasting approximately 35 to 40 days. And the main responsibility falls on the female, while the male tirelessly provides her with food. The hatched chicks, covered in thick white down, are completely helpless and entirely dependent on their parents. The female warms and protects them, while the male brings prey which he then carefully cuts into small pieces for the hungry mouths. Observing this process means witnessing the embodiment of parental care in the wild. But the world around the nest is a fortress, and goshawks are known for their unparalleled ferocity in its defense. Anyone who carelessly approaches the nest, whether another predator, a crow, or even a human, risks experiencing the full force of parental wrath. The birds, with piercing cries, dive at the intruder, striking with their talons, aiming at the head and back. This aggression is especially strong during the period when there are eggs or small chicks in the nest, and the defense zone can extend hundreds of feet around the nesting tree. This fearless defense ensures the survival of the offspring in a world full of dangers. Conflict at the doorstep, a threat to the household. However, the proximity of such a powerful and effective predator with humans has not always been smooth, giving rise to a centuries-old conflict. We have approached a difficult topic, the damage that the goshawk, and sometimes other hawks, can inflict on domestic households. Historically, many large hawks, including the goshawk, have been known for an unflattering reputation as chicken hawks or goose thieves, reflecting their ability to carry out daring raids on poultry yards, and I must admit that these accusations are not entirely unfounded. Indeed, the goshawk, being an opportunistic hunter, can consider domestic birds, chickens, ducks, geese, guinea fowls, ornamental pigeons as relatively easy prey, especially if its natural food supply in the forest is depleted, for example during harsh winters, or if the poultry yard is imprudently located too close to the forest edge, right on the border of its hunting grounds. The vulnerability of domestic birds, often deprived of natural self-preservation instincts, and limited in movement, makes them an attractive target. A sudden attack from behind the trees, a swift lunge, and yet another hen becomes a meal for the hawk or its chicks. I understand the frustration and losses that such attacks can cause to farmers and private homestead owners for whom each bird matters. The loss of even a few chickens can be significant. However, it is important to maintain a balanced perspective here. The extent of the damage caused specifically by goshawks is often exaggerated. Not every goshawk specializes in domestic poultry. For most, wild prey remains the staple of their diet. Attacks are usually sporadic, are either isolated incidents or related to individual birds that have discovered this easily accessible food source. Accusations are often indiscriminately placed on all hawks, in general, even though the culprit might be another predator. Therefore, while acknowledging the existence of the problem, we should not demonize the entire species, which plays an important role in maintaining ecological balance in our forests. This conflict of interest requires more reasonable measures to protect domestic animals, rather than mindlessly pursuing the predators themselves. A fragile future, the predator's fate. The future of this forest phantom is uncertain. Its fate is inextricably linked to our actions. Considering the current status of the goshawk, Mama, I feel a mix of hope and anxiety. On a global level, thanks to its vast range covering much of the northern hemisphere, the species is currently classified as of least concern. However, this overall picture conceals many regional issues and local population declines that are cause for concern. The main threat to the goshawk today, as for many forest dwellers, is the loss and degradation of its native habitats. The logging of old-growth forests, especially large-scale clear-cutting, deprives it not only of places for nesting on sturdy trees, but also destroys the complex forest structure necessary for its unique hunting strategy. The fragmentation of forest areas by roads, development, and agricultural lands breaks up its hunting territories and isolates populations. It's akin to destroying the walls and rooms of its home, leaving only uncomfortable, wind-exposed ruins. The second serious challenge is the disturbance factor from humans. Goshawks are extremely sensitive to the presence of people near their nests, especially during the breeding season. Logging, tourism, and even just frequent human presence in nesting areas can lead to birds abandoning their eggs or chicks. Their fierce defense of the nest, unfortunately, sometimes provokes retaliatory aggression from people. And, unfortunately, direct persecution still occurs. Despite legal protection in many countries, poaching and shooting of goshawks continue, motivated by outdated prejudices about harmful predators, as well as conflicts with game farm or poultry farm owners. The legacy of the past also makes itself felt. In the mid-20th century, the widespread use of organochlorine pesticides dealt a terrible blow to many populations of birds of prey, including the goshawk. These poisons accumulated in the food chain, leading to the thinning of eggshells, which cracked under the weight of the incubating female, and the death of embryos. Although the use of the most dangerous pesticides is now banned or restricted, their effects were felt for many decades, and the recovery of populations requires time and constant efforts to maintain a clean environment. Protecting this magnificent predator requires a comprehensive approach. Preserving large tracts of mature forests, limiting disturbances during the nesting period, and education to eradicate hostile attitudes. Symbol and partner, the hawk in culture. This avenger from the skies has left its mark not only in the forests but also in the depths of human culture. The hawk, and especially the mighty goshawk, has long stirred the human imagination, becoming a symbol of contradictory yet invariably strong qualities. Its ferocity, speed, and hunting prowess have made it a natural embodiment of war, strength, and nobility. It is not surprising that the image of the hawk is often found in the heraldry of noble families and on the coats of arms of entire nations, symbolizing vigilance, determination, and the pursuit of victory. This bird, capable of swiftly attacking and delivering a blow, embodied the ideals of a warrior in many cultures. In the mythology of various peoples, hawks were also assigned a special role. They could be messengers of the gods, solar symbols, or embody sharp vision and foresight. The very fact of flight, the ability to ascend to the heavens, endowed them with supernatural properties in the eyes of ancient people. However, perhaps the most significant and enduring connection humans established with the hawk was through the art of falconry. And here the goshawk holds a very special place. Its Latin name, Accipiter gentilis, translates to noble hawk. For centuries, hunting with the goshawk was a privilege of the nobility in many countries of Europe and Asia. Taming and training this powerful, willful bird for hunting in the forest required immense patience, skill, and a deep understanding of its nature. Unlike falcons, which hunt in open fields, the goshawk was intended for complex hunting with a dog or by stalking. Forest game, pheasants, hares, rabbits. Hunting with the goshawk was not just a way to obtain food, it was a whole art of partnership between man and bird, based on mutual respect. Even today, in the era of modern technology, falconry with the goshawk retains its allure for enthusiasts around the world, serving as a living thread, connecting us to the distant past. It appears to us not just as a subject of study for ornithologists or as an element of the ecosystem, but also as an important part of our cultural heritage, a symbol of the wild, untamed force of nature with which humans have always sought to find common ground.